key, and that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. The Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. It is Trends in the Papers, Monday, August 17, 2026. And as we begin another week, the newspapers are once again giving us plenty of time to talk about politics, governance, economy, security, and so on and so forth. But as expected, one story towers above the rest this morning, and it is the Osun State governorship election that happened over the course of the weekend. We will delve into all of that sooner than later. However, I would like to again officially welcome you to the newspaper review program here on Mainland 98.3 FM. It's Trends in the Papers. If this is the first time you're perhaps encountering the program, we're very happy to have you here. And if you are a fan of in-depth analysis and conversations that are of national significance, you have most definitely come to the right place. Now, aside from interacting with us via the radio directly, we've also created multiple channels through which you can become a part of the family, or at least familiarize yourself with our programming even more. On social media, Facebook, YouTube, we're at Mainland 98.3 FM. Now, these platforms also double as our streaming platforms, which means you can watch us live, you can listen, and if you even miss any of our programs or episodes of any programs, you're able to double back to Facebook or YouTube and watch that particular episode. We also have a website, www.mainlandfm.com. It also provides you the listen live option, so you can listen live via the website whilst also simultaneously checking our programs, the dates, the time, and the presenters in charge of these programs. If you also have marketing opportunities, our website provides you with a link to communicate with us directly. But then let's focus on what we have for this morning. As I said, the Osun State governorship election is quite the story. All the papers have it predominantly. And so after months of campaign, the political realignment, the intense contest, and the people of Osun State definitely spoke over the weekend. Governor Ademola Adeleke has already generated conversations around voter behavior, party strength, performance of INEC, amongst other things. But most importantly, the conversation is around what story the Osun election tells us about 2027. So we want to talk about what happened there, how did he prevail, what story does this tell us moving forward, amongst other things. But besides the Osun situation, of course, we'll be looking at other major stories that are making the headlines this very morning. My name is Sage Babalola, by the way, but let me quickly refresh your memory and give you a rundown of some of the reports that trended over the weekend, and then after we bring on Fuad Side to complement what we have going on here. The Punch newspaper, the weekend report goes thus: INEC declares Adeleke winner of Osun governorship poll. Adeleke's victory is a resounding vote of confidence, says Nans. Adeleke reaffirms endorsement of Tinubu for 2027, calls him Osun's son. Adeleke camp replies Keyamo says no political deal with Tinubu. Osun decides, probe vote buying, violence, Serap urge INEC, EFCC, ICPC. Yaga Africa Bivas audit, praises voters' vigilance. Terrorist attack Benue community, kill, injure residents. El-Rufai files fresh 10 billion naira suit against ICPC over family access. We crave Western education. Borno girls who married as teenagers seek government support. For the Guardian newspaper, Osun decides Adeleke condemns state PDP chairman's arrest, urges release. Southeast votes alone cannot make Peter Obi president, says Umahi. Group seeks to end witchcraft-related ostracization in Imo State. Socialite Joizaza Belonia father Jesco boss freed. We have Osun decides 52 Accord members arrested, says TICC Director General. And finally, for the Vanguard newspaper, what we have is I wish him great success. President Tinubu congratulates Adeleke, commends INEC. Adeleke's camp to Keyamo, there's no agreement with Tinubu to Adeleke. Your victory confirms Osun people's confidence in you. OT approves 1 million naira each for 31 Abia returnees from South Africa. And finally, sheer display of federal might could not stop Adeleke's victory, says Makinde. So those are indeed some of the stories that trended over the course of the weekend. Let's talk about some of them because they are still very relevant in the papers this morning. So we would open with these conversations. Osun State, more specifically. Let's bring Fuad Said on board for that conversation. Good morning, Fuad Said. How are you? How was your weekend?
Good morning, Faith. Thank you. My weekend was good. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you very much for asking. I already sort of kicked off the conversation, the Osun situation. The incumbent governor, Ademola Adeleke of the Accord Party, he has secured his second term. He defeated APC candidate Bola Oyebamiji at 511,067 votes, and Oyebamiji had about 444,815 votes. So there was a 66,000 vote margin there. But I think the conversation is about APC's internal politics and what's going on with it, the Osun people and their stance against vote buying, the reiteration of Adeleke's support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and is this a sign, no matter how minuscule, that democracy can still be healed? And I'm asking this because Ademola Adeleke granted an interview yesterday with Chinwo, and he was asked if he would be supporting the president. He says that I'm going to support the president because he's Yoruba and he's also from the southwest, amongst other things. And that did not sit well with a lot of people. That why are you supporting him? For the simple fact that you have tribal relations. Why not? Because you believe in his policies.
Well, again, Governor Ademola Adeleke is an adult. He's a politician. I'm sure there are things he has in mind, which may have been influenced by so many other factors that we are not, private to. We might not be, open to. He knows why he has taken that decision, and it would be wrong for us on the outside to begin to fault his political decision. While we're at the close of political roundtable yesterday, one of the conversations I had with my analyst was them giving an advice as to what should be his political future. It was whether we like it or not. He was never a member. He was not originally a member of the Accord Party.
Yeah.
When the PDP became a problem, the 𝐴ᴏ it is a massive issue, called the PDP apart. It was too risky for him to remain in the PDP. That was the reason he looked for Accord. So the question is, should you remain in Accord? Should you continue to build Accord, or just, remain in Accord and begin to look into the future to see what could shape his political future? But on supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu again, he is an individual. He has his followers. He has his believers. I am also 100% sure that his followers and believers also have a mind of their own. Sage, if you know how elections run in Nigeria, we've seen situations where voters eventually decide on their own where they want to be, where they want to go, and who they want to vote for. That's why you see that sometimes in a particular state, voters will vote for an individual in the presidential election in a political party and decide to go the other way during the governorship election. So, Governor Ademola Adeleke's endorsement, yes, I'm sure would come as good news for members of the APC and I think the presidency. But the reality is that, look, to win the hearts of Osun people, we'll have to go beyond Governor Ademola Adeleke's endorsement, if you understand what I mean. In a democracy, people are going to vote most likely on their own realities, on their own terms. So when the campaigns begin, we'll see whether that endorsement amounts to nothing really, or amounts to what will become a sweet victory for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Osun State. Osun has always been very difficult for the APC when it comes to presidential elections. If you follow the history of Osun State and their voting pattern, even in the last election, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not able to win Osun State. Atiku won Osun State, if you understand. So, again, it's what it is. Ademola Adeleke would, of course, be, I think, grateful to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who had intervened at the most critical points of this election, this Osun election. You know, the intervention of the president when the EFCC froze the Osun State government account. Whether you like it or not, that was an intervention that saved the state from a lot of chaos and crisis. And of course, the statement the president issued moments before, just after the elections results were announced and Adeleke was declared before the election. Sorry, you know, there was a pre-election statement by the president, you know, telling INEC, telling the security operatives and the Osun people to go out there and vote without any fear. And I think that helped a lot. It helped to douse the tension. It probably gave the people more courage to come out on election day to cast their votes without any fear of intimidation or harassment. And just after Adeleke was declared winner, you also saw that the president was one of the first few people who came out to congratulate him. And that's also, you know, whether you like it or not, very commendable from the part of the president. So if you have Adeleke coming out to say, oh, yes, why not? I made a pledge, you know, to support the president, to support the re-election of the president. It would be extremely wrong, Sage, for him, a few hours after making that statement, to now come and say, no, I can't do that. Again, it will not look very good for the governor, you know, who has just been re-elected. So it might be political correctness, it might be real commitment, whatever it is. I think that at the end of the day, the decision to vote for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027 still lies with the people of Osun State.
Well, I want to reference Keyamo, right? First, Keyamo had put out a tweet, of course, congratulating him, but then there was something of an addendum where he says agreement is agreement. Of course, Ademola Adeleke was very quick to respond to that, where he says, let's be very clear, I did not make any agreement or deal with the president in any way whatsoever. So the phrase agreement is agreement should not start to rile up some sort of narrative that perhaps his victory is tied to his endorsement of the president. What do you think about that tiny addendum that Festus Keyamo added in his congratulatory message?
It has no relevance. It has no relevance. Those are some of the anti-democratic statements we now have within our democracy. You know, where people come out to talk about agreement is agreement. The only agreement that makes any sense in a democracy, is the agreement elected officials make with their own people, the people who give them the mandate. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to deploy your resources to better your lives. This is service to the people. You know, so any other agreements that people make among themselves that are anti-democratic in nature, the kind of useless agreement that they made in Rivers State, the Yendemba nonsense, you know. So I like the fact that Governor Adeleke was quick to debunk the nonsensical phrase that we now have in our democracy. Agreement is not what agreement. The agreement in a democracy that we should continue to push is the agreement that you make with the people, the pledge you make to the people, and the agreement they make with you to say, oh, based on what you have told us, oh, we have voted for you, we are giving you this mandate to go out there and serve us. And I'm surprised that these kind of statements are even coming from the mouth of somebody like Festus Keyamo. If you look at the antecedents, what we used to know of them, as you know, advocates for good governance and democracy. But it's unfortunate that they are in government and have become something that we are finding difficult to know again, you know. So Adeleke has debunked it, so let's just trash it and move to more serious issues.
Yes, over the course of the weekend too, the Atiku situation came up. I would like us to talk about that very briefly. He did file a suit again to challenge the eligibility of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, mostly because of the continuous allegation that the NYC certificate that was initially submitted by the president at the time bore a different name. It had Adekunle in it, and the president is not known to bear such name, although that certificate was ultimately withdrawn. So there are questions around Atiku Abubakar. Why are you bringing it up again? Remember, there's amendments to the Electoral Act about even post-election, if you bring certificate forgery to the tribunal, not only would you will it be dismissed, you would also be fined. So let's talk about the does he have local standard?
You have 1 minute to make.
Does he have local standard, first of all? And let's talk about the contradiction that exists between the Electoral Act, the one that says, first of all, it's even only party that can determine eligibility. You as an outsider cannot do so. But since he's a presidential candidate, does that give him some sort of leverage to still continue to challenge the certificate situation?
Well, Sage, I've tried to consult quite a lot of legal luminaries, very senior lawyers, as to what could come out of this renewed legal battle that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has initiated in court again. Sage. And you know that you would always get from our lawyers, the opinions are divided, extremely divided, to for want of better words. There are some lawyers who think that, look, this is also a waste of time, that nothing is going to come out of that case. Some of them, of course, made reference to past judgments, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. Again, one of them you also mentioned talks about the fact that even in pre-election matters, because again, you know, we have the Electoral Act that has now been amended. And in that amendment, the grounds for you to petition an electoral victory is well stated. And one of the things that has been removed is you challenging the credentials, the credentials of who has won or participated in an election. So that generally means that, look, in an election petition, you cannot file charges based on what you considered forged credentials presented for the election. But even in the case of election matter, they pointed me to some judgments that talked about the fact that unless you're a member of a political party or even you participated in the process, you cannot even challenge what you consider forged credentials of an aspirant or a candidate of a party. But if you look at our constitution, Sage, eligibility to contest to become president of the country, there are sections. It's just I don't have those sections before me now, and I can't quote them offhand. But there are extant part of our constitution that talks about you being disqualified if you are found to have forged your certificate. Yeah. Hey, if you forge your certificate, you forge anything, you stand disqualified, and it can be proven. Now, the problem we have now, Sage, is this. We are at a point where it has now become extremely difficult to challenge anybody who forged a certificate to contest for elective position in Nigeria. And I think that should worry everybody. It's not about whether you're a member of a political party, whether you are PDP, APC, NDC, whatever. This is not about politics. As we speak, Sage, why have we gotten to a point? Why are we at a point in our democracy where maybe on technical grounds, on the fact that we have amended our laws, it has now become extremely difficult for us to look, even if somebody, what we have done basically is to allow for people to continue to forge anything and present fake credentials. Because again, it is difficult now for anybody to challenge anything. You know, it used to be very easy before, say. Yes. Once you submit fake documents, because you know INEC will always publish those documents, and you are able to identify it. You even let the person when you go, you add it to your election petition, and that is the end of the victory. It happened in Bayelsa and other places. But as we speak now, we've expunged that from our Electoral Act, and you cannot even file that as part of the election petition again. Remember that even the last time that Atiku went to Chicago State University and all of that, by the time he was going to come back with his evidence, they were already at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled on that matter on technical grounds. The case was not judged on its own merit. Whether the judgment did not confirm whether the result was fake or not, was forged or not. What the Supreme Court said at that time was that, look, at the elections petition, at the appeal court, this was not part of the process. You cannot now bring a new thing when you are already at the Supreme Court. And that was why the Supreme Court threw out the matter. But again, you also have different cases and judgments on who can come up with a particular case as a pre-election matter, whether you are a part of a party, you participated in the process or not. Whatever it is, I'm just saying that, look, for all well-meaning Nigerians, patriotic Nigerians, should we not be bothered that at this stage of our democracy, we are at a point where it has now become extremely difficult to fight against forgery of certificates of credentials within our electoral process. Too many technicalities, too many gray areas that have now been created to shield people. Because look, if you say you want to rule the people, and a basic thing as you forging your certificate is what you have done. I'm sorry, like, you know, you always ask a very pertinent question, Sage. Would I, for example, now want to hire somebody? You are the owner of a business, Sage. Would you want to hire somebody that has forged the certificate, no matter how brilliant the person is, Sage? No matter how brilliant, how competent the person is, would you want to hire somebody you know has forged this or a certificate? We are not saying anybody has forged anything, so that people don't misunderstand us. What we are just saying is that
of that behavior.
The behavior, and then why are we at a point where it has now become extremely difficult? We have created a justice system. We have amended our laws. There are judgments that have now made it so difficult for us to say, that will result, and then should be able to quickly face the consequence of disqualification from the process. Why are we at that point? We are at that point, and the implication is that, look, if we are not able to fish out people who forge their certificates and make them face the consequence of either losing their victory or being disqualified from the process, what we have done is to embolden other people to do it. Let us do anything. How did we even get to the point where we expunged that part from our electoral act? What were we trying to do? Who were we protecting? What was the whole essence of removing that from our laws? Sage.
I mean,
why did we do that?
That's the question, because there seems to be some sort of clash with the Electoral Act and the Constitution. As you mentioned, the Constitution says that forgery of any kind sort of automatically disqualifies you. But then we have a provision of the Electoral Act that says that you cannot even argue eligibility at the tribunal. So if one says to dismiss if they do so, and then the tribunal says not to even submit it as evidence of any kind, what exactly is supposed to be the middle point here?
Sage, look at what Atiku has done now. He has gone to court because he knows that, look, this cannot be grounds to challenge, the elections at the tribunal, the elections petition, because the Electoral Act has stopped anybody from being able to do that. Yeah. Now he has gone to the regular court. He has gone to the Federal High Court in Abuja, on the grounds of what the Constitution says about forgery, right?
Right.
Now, this is the issue. I've seen lawyers who have pointed me to an appeal court judgment that talks about pre-election matters like this and says that, look, you cannot challenge somebody's credentials if you are not a member of the party or have contested against the person within the same party. You'll be considered an interloper.
Yeah.
But articles, so the question will now be, you see, there's going to be a lot of technicality on this case. The locus, does article have a locus in the matter? Because it is not an APC member that is challenging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yeah. It is not one of the people that contested against him. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So my fear is that we might eventually see the end of this case coming as a result of technicalities, not on the merit of the case. If you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yes, I'm with you.
So it's unfortunate that we're at a point where our laws have become so confusing on a matter that should be very straightforward, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, but it is good that, again, this is the way to deepen our democracy. I've told people that it is not bad that Atiku is taking on this matter again. We're going to see through the process. We'll see what's going to come out of it. And to show you the level of seriousness Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has attached to this matter. He went to court himself to submit this thing at the
Lord. He went personally.
So I was like, the man is saying, I'm not joking, but again, it's a matter in court now. There's a little we can say. Again, this is a very serious matter. We understand the political implications, and we'll keep our eyes on it and see what comes out of it.
Indeed. Trends in the papers, Mainland 98.3 FM. I'm Sage Babalola. For our side is our analyst. We're reviewing the papers. Still in Punch, Tinubu bets on Port Harcourt, Warri refineries despite Obasanjo's doubt. We have here President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has disagreed with former President Olusegun Obasanjo over claims that the state-owned Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries may never work. in what appeared to be Tinubu's first clear position on the viability of the 3 refineries, which have remained moribund despite billions spent on turnaround maintenance. The president insisted that the facilities will return to operation. Now, former President Obasanjo believes that a public-private partnership is the only way the refinery can work, or perhaps let me say it offers a better model. Let's not say it's the only way, right? The president says that these refineries can work. Well, Obasanjo even gave us an insight into some of the things he had done during his tenure to try to get the refinery to be functional. He spoke about approaching Shell at one point, that they should come in as partners and help run the refineries. He even offered a 10% equity, but Shell had rejected at the time that they don't necessarily want to involve themselves in the downstream sector. That downstream sector is mostly about service. It's hardly about profiteering. They would rather just put all the investment in the upstream sector. And then we have Atiku Abubakar as well, who's saying, I think it's about time for you to stop blaming your woes with regards to the refinery on past administration. It's been 3 years. You're supposed to have done something significant. And in 2024, at least 8 trillion naira were some of the obligations committed to these refineries, and there's nothing to show for it.
Oh, well said. Another complex issue. Very complex because, again, too many sides to this particular issue of what should become the face or what should we eventually do with our refinery. We have those assets there. I don't know whether to consider them as assets or liabilities now, but they are there. I mean, unless we are thinking we have a refinery we don't have.
It's like a liability now. If you're spending your money for turnaround and it's not turning anywhere, it's just there.
So we shouldn't consider them as assets. They are there now. Okay, well,
it's okay, Sha. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So almost 4 years down the line, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for the first time in my own analysis of the statements he has made to Nigerians, this is probably the first time I've seen him come out to properly and openly talk about what would eventually become, what is going to come out from our refineries. He's always, there are times I've questioned whether he even knows that we have refineries. He's not really somebody who has made statements, definite statements about our refineries. I think the last time the presidency, maybe not even the president, talked about the refineries was when, it was said that refineries were working again and they congratulated Nigerians, for what has been achieved. But as it stands now, they've closed up the refineries again because according to NNPC, it has become unprofitable to continue to run the refineries. Yoruba say, so they cannot continue to put in money. So they will tell you the refineries are working, but it is not just profitable to continue to run it. And that's a contradiction in thought for me. If you say something is working, but it is not profitable to continue to run it, I don't know what that means, but that's the reason why Mr. Bayo Julaya has given for the reason why they decided to shut down the refineries again. So, but at least we can conclude that as it stands today, those refineries are not working. That is even the reason why the president will say the refineries will work again. At least something that is working cannot work again. It means they are not working. And if you look at the statement of the president, that look, the fact that there are flames or smoke coming out of a refinery does not mean it's working. And when the president, so when the president said, "Oh, the fact that there are flames and smoke from a refinery does not mean it's working," something just came to my mind. When this old bubuyaya, this abacadabra from NNPC started, especially under Milik Kyari, some of us as journalists, had questioned what they were telling us. That we have to check and recheck it, especially when you know the antecedents of the people who are talking to you. But these ones, you cannot really trust them. But remember, there are people who came after us, called us different names. Oh, we are not patriotic. We don't want anything good. We will never celebrate any achievement of the country. We are always naysayers. But look at where we are now. Remember that one of the very senior journalists was on TV. In fact, he went there, he showed himself. And one of the things he mentioned is that, maybe they say the refinery is not working. Look at the flames. He was even pointing to the flames.
Yeah.
Now the president has said, the fact that you have flames and smoke doesn't mean remember that there were even people in the community who told us that, hey, they are not loading nothing here.
Yes.
You remember there was a video of a man who said, look, I live around the refinery, and if a refinery is working, we have been here when the refinery was working. If they say it's working now, the activities that will show that the refinery is working is not present. Oh, these are people sponsored to just not celebrate the country, blah, blah. Look at where we are now. And so that's why people are even saying that this statement of the president now, coming few days to the official opening of campaigns, could just be a campaign idea to begin to excite Nigerians again. Now, why did the president keep quiet for almost 3.5 years? And suddenly campaigns are starting. He's now assuring Nigerians that refineries will work. I am not saying that it is a campaign strategy, but I'm saying that, look, we should begin to ask ourselves some very pertinent questions as to what will become of our refineries. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo have insisted, I've always insisted, and he's still insisting that those refineries will never work. You know, he gave the story of how he invited Shell, and Shell said, oh, number one, your refineries are too small. The capacity is not something that can make it so profitable. Again, you guys have not been maintaining it. You run it aground. And the fact that, look, the downstream sector, when it comes to things like this, is not really that profitable. And I would rather want to stay upstream. And that it was like a miracle when Aliko Dangote approached him to say, I'll buy 2 of the refineries for $750 million dollars.
Yeah.
That was like a miracle. But again, Yar'Adua came in. According to Obasanjo, there was a lot of pressure from NNPC and some other stakeholders, and they reversed the sale of the refineries. Since that time, Sage, here we are. Nothing has happened. We spent billions. In fact, under Buhari, we did about $3 billion. Nothing to show. Before that time, we've been spending money on turnaround maintenance of those refineries. It is only in Nigeria that I hear people maintaining what is not working.
I mean, just
something is not working. You are maintaining it. What are you maintaining?
Why don't you just build a new one? I can only imagine if they started building all the money for the turnaround for a static project. We would have been able to do something in 3 to 5 years, even if it's one.
Dangote started from the scratch.
Right.
You know, remember that in one of the interviews of Alhaji Atiku Dangote, he had told journalists that one of the things that prompted him to build his own refinery was the reversal of the purchase of those refineries. That the thing pained him, and he made a commitment to himself that, look, I will build my own refinery. And so for anybody who does not know, the Dangote refinery in Lekki started from the scratch. Remember, he talked about how he bought the land. He was going to do it in Ogun State before he brought it to Lagos. Yes. So if an individual can build a refinery, if we are committed to building a brand new one, maybe. And I always remember what Adeola Yusuf told me, Dr. Adeola Yusuf now, where he said he was in Texas. He met with the original asset manufacturers of the refinery. And he went there as a journalist to ask them, will these refineries ever work again? And they told him that, well, from their own estimation, they don't think these refineries will ever work again, that we run it aground. And if you know how machineries are supposed to be maintained, once you don't meet up the maintenance schedule, it can get to a point where they will tell you, you know what, just forget about it. It will never work again. Mechanics tell people, car owners now. They tell car owners, oh man, this is company motor yellow sha. Scrap. You know, so the question is, what do we then do? The president says the refineries will work again. Are we going to start to put monies into the refineries again, like we did in the past? In fact, what troubled me, what continues to trouble me now in the president's statement, is that he's not somebody that wants to continue to look back. That he has decided to inherit the assets and liabilities of the past administration. Is he saying that he will never probe how we spend those monies? If you read the statement, he said it there. That he's not somebody who likes to look back. He just wants to move forward. And that, look, whatever happened under Buhari, he has taken responsibility for it. But no, those were public funds. We should know what happened. Mainly, up till now, is it not surprising that Mele Kyari has not physically attended the probe by the National Assembly? Is Mele Kyari bigger than the whole of Nigeria?
Isn't he like ill in Germany? That's what he said, right?
Anytime you call them now. He's not well. When did he start to not be well? All the time he was busy jumping around, deceiving Nigerians. He had no sickness there. No. Suddenly, it is when you want to call them to account, they say they are not well. And when they are not well, they are not always in Nigeria. They find somewhere to go and hide.
Let's move on fast.
One last thing. The question is, what if the president says it's going to work? Recently, the NNPC said they signed an agreement with some Chinese companies.
Yes.
Where are we on that one?
Maybe they are doing survey. Maybe they're doing survey.
So let's move.
I don't know what you want me to say. Maybe they are doing survey.
Survey of what?
The refinery now. You're not going to first use Ojúsùnùkùn to look at what you want to invest.
I remember the question around those Chinese companies that there's no record anywhere of them ever doing anything that concerns a refinery.
Right.
So how did we get to that point again? Actually, look down on media.
This is well. We're moving forward. The Punch still. Let's talk a little bit about El-Rufai. El-Rufai demands family access, 10 billion naira damages from ICPC. Now, former state governor Nasir El-Rufai has filed the first 10 billion naira fundamental rights suit against the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission over alleged denial of access to his wife and son while in custody. The former governor, through his lawyer Obong Akpan, also joined the ICPC chairman and the Attorney General of the Federation as the second and third defendants, respectively. He's seeking 9 relief, including declaration that his fundamental rights guaranteed under Part 4 of the 1999 Constitution remains enforceable despite his detention. He's alleging that the repeated refusal to allow his family member access him, particularly to provide food, medication and other necessities, without lawful jurisdiction of a court order, violated his rights under the Constitution and the Charter of Human and People's Rights. So again, remember he had alleged that he was not allowed access to medical treatment a few months ago, and he was later granted permission to go see his doctor. I think his doctor in itself, the doctor was probed at some point, maybe even picked up at some point. Now he's alleging that they're not letting him see his family, and he's filing a 10 billion naira suit that, yes, you might have me in detention, but I still have rights.
Well, again, when you feel that your rights are being trampled upon, especially even if you are standing a trial, whether you are in detention or not, lawyers will always tell you to file the fundamental rights suit, which he has now done. Again, he's alleging that the ICPC has denied him access to his wife and his son, and that has made it difficult for him to take his drugs. I think they are the ones that understands his medical routine, when it comes to taking his drugs, maybe the kind of food. I don't know. Again, we respect that at that level, there might be things that he needs his family to do for him. So he's also seeking a $10 billion. In this suit now, he's not even saying they should release him. The issue of his bail condition, that one is there pending. And the conditions to his bail, I don't think he will ever be able to meet it. So he probably will remain there until the conclusion of this trial. And that's why some people are saying that it is all political, just to get him out of circulation until the elections. Whether it is true or not, that is the situation with him. But on this one, he's talking about the fact that, look, even in detention, even as going to stand trial, why are you refusing me, denying me the right, the privilege of seeing my wife and my son? The ICPC has not responded to it. He has filed a suit in court. We'll see what's going to come out of it. But I need us to quickly mention the fact that people today who are celebrating El-Rufai's incarceration are bad students of history. Again, when El-Rufai was governor, and that does not justify what's happening to him today, so that people don't misunderstand me. I'm sure that there were several times that, well-meaning Nigerians, human rights advocates have also called him to order when it comes to him being high-handed, using state powers to punish people. There have been several cases. People have brought up several cases of what El-Rufai also did in the past. Look at how the tables have turned now. He is now suffering from what he had also encouraged or tolerated in the past. So for those who think, El-Rufai, blah, 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 because whether we like it or not, this is becoming very clear that this is political persecution, unless we want to deceive ourselves. This is clearly becoming a case of political persecution. But again, it is what it is. For those who are celebrating El-Rufai's predicament today, let it be on record that we are taking note of, because the tables will change too. The tables will turn. And you might also find yourself in this same situation. And then at that time, you remember the rule of law. Remember fundamental human rights. Because there's nothing on this El-Rufai matter that justifies why he cannot be on bail. Look at the bail condition. And that's why I support somebody like Show, who says that, look, my fight is not about individuals. It's about the system. How do you create a justice system that allows people to be perpetually incarcerated, that allows people to be unnecessarily punished? You say, and I keep telling people, there's nobody that cannot be in jail tomorrow. God forbid, say, you say,
No, I'm agreeing with you. The highs of agreement.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's nobody. You can just suddenly find yourself in Kirikiri. A big man can tomorrow go and file a frivolous petition at Alagmo or anywhere now. Before you know, they have come to pick you up. Before you know, you are presented before a magistrate or a judge. Before you know, they send you to Kirikiri, they adjourn the case for the next 3 months. That is the situation of the country. Anybody can find themselves in this because we have a justice system that has become extremely ridiculous, to say the least. A big man can just wake up Sunday, file a very frivolous petition against you. Before you know, the police is at your door. They knock, they pick you up. The next thing, you are before a judge. And so when you see rich men say, "Ma do SN1," they know what they are saying. Have you not seen with your man? They know what they are saying because they know we have a ridiculous justice system. So we're still fighting a case in Ibadan now, where they say one popular Fuji musician, a sense of you see our rich men saying in every water, "Ma follow up ma go, ma DM," because that is who we are. That is where we are with our justice system.
It's very unfortunate.
Which is very unfortunate.
Unfortunate indeed. And it pains me because I know we talk about lapses in the law. However, the law is very clear on certain issues, especially with detention and arrest. Number one, the police should not even naturally, in many cases, intervene in civil issues. Although I know there are exceptions to the law and there are certain provisions that allow for that to happen. Holding time 24 to 48 and you must get a court order if you must extend. It's very simple. So why?
Even when you go to the police and they know that this is a civil matter, they know that it's a civil matter. They are the ones that will teach you how to turn it to a criminal matter. This person will argue. I gave her clothes to sew for me. She did not sew it on time. I was not able to wear the clothes to my wedding. I want to arrest her. No, you cannot arrest her on that one. They will be the one to tell you something. He now said she will kill me. When we argue, she now mentioned I tried to put threat to life. That's the only thing. They will be the ones to teach you how to criminalize the matter. Just to be able to we see, and we see these things, we tolerate it every day, we think it does not matter. Until when we become a victim, until we also become a victim.
Forward side. I'm glad you landed on that victim part because that leads us to our final story of the morning. We're talking about Deborah, the young lady that was killed. And just like that, how time flies. 4 years after Deborah's killing, group demands renewed investigation and prosecution. Now, 4 years after Deborah Samuel Yakubu was killed by a mob at Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto, the National Coalition Against Mass Killing, Extrajudicial Killing, Mob Action and Impunity has demanded renewed investigation and prosecution of those responsible for her death. A 200-level student of the institution was killed on May 12, 2022 after she was accused of blasphemy. Fuad, we sat here and reported that story. They had told us that a few people had been arrested and they were currently standing trial. We never heard at the end of that particular case. Unfortunately, we did hear about the court proceedings. But the Punch is also reporting a story here about jungle justice and how mob entertainment has now started to abuse the fundamental rights of people. I know that when a thief is caught, you're supposed to call the police, but now they make them dance, they flog them, they tie them, they stone them. Under the law, there is the right to dignity. Stripping a person and publicly flogging them is a deviation from that law. If you can take these two stories together as we remember the unfortunate passing of Deborah 4 years after.
Two very unfortunate issues related, and it's good that we're even bringing it together. Deborah 4 years down the line. Still no justice for Deborah. That was a girl that was stoned to death, humiliated
by her colleagues.
In a higher institution, not on the street, right there in the school. I think a college of education is somewhere in Sokoto.
Yes.
On the allegations of blasphemy. The sad part of it all, if you remember, was that when the incident happened, even our politicians were too livid to make a comment, to condemn the act.
The one that made a comment deleted it.
Deleted the article. Don't say the one, it was article.
Okay.
He said he did not authorize the statement. Okay, which one did you authorize? If you delete the one you did not authorize, did you eventually make another statement condemning the act?
Right. Hello?
You say?
Okay. Go ahead, please. We didn't hear you for a bit. Hello? Okay. I think Fadas, maybe he's driving through the free trade zone or is in Eco Atlantic. We apologize for that. We'll round up very soon, but I really want to get his comment on these stories. Quite important that we talk about it. But we'll be on a break in another, say, 3 minutes, right? And when we come back, we would go to Mainland Focus. But let's talk to Fuad. Okay, Fuad, you're back. Please go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me? I think the network is just misbehaving.
Yes, go ahead. Please.
So remember that time people said even the current president, I think, he was still a candidate then, officially did not make any statement. I think on record it was the vice president that issued a statement condemning the act. 4 years down the line, 2 people were said to have been arrested. Yeah. But if you read the report now, they said the prosecution did not even go ahead with the case. So I'm sure those ones are free now. So somebody was stoned to death in the public glare, in the open like that. Nobody prosecuted, nobody arrested, nobody in jail. So there will be justice for Deborah. I don't know, maybe the justice of God, or maybe when we all meet before Baba God. But that it will happen in our lifetime in Nigeria, I don't think so. Who's going to bail the cat? Who and who will step up on this matter? And this also brings us to the story, I think, in The Guardian, right?
Yes. Where
it talks about the recent trending videos of people being stripped, being told to dance on the allegation that they stole money.
Yeah.
Whether anybody likes it or not, it is still mob action. It is still mob action, and it strips those people of their fundamental human rights. Those people who are seeing those videos, we are laughing. But how are we sure that they will even stole what they said they stole? They didn't see the story of a student that was really beaten to death on allegation that he stole the phone, only to be discovered that he was not the one that stole the phone.
Even if he did, that's not how we're supposed to go about. Even in war situation, Fuad, once the other person drops their weapon and waves the white flag, you are expected to immediately withdraw violence.
You've arrested these people. You now strip them naked. You video them. You tell them to dance. And whether they like it or not, at that point of you taking their video, doing whatever you're doing to them, it is still an allegation. All you need to do is to take them to the appropriate authorities, the police. But we beat them, and sometimes they don't even stay at just beating them. I have seen a video where somebody was saying, practically just, are we animals? Are we barbarians? Even in the animal kingdom, I don't think they are this cruel. And sometimes you even look at the whole case, you know that, look, there are still a lot of missing puzzles. You are not even sure of what they are saying. We have seen situations where people have been wrongly accused and killed, only for people to eventually discover that they had no hand in what happened. So how did we even get to this point where we are now so tolerant of jungle justice? We now want to even celebrate it. We are even posting videos celebrating it. See, and we'll celebrate it until, unfortunately, some of us become victims too.
Fuad, thank you so much for your analysis. As always, let's take a pause on the analysis. We'll go to Mainland Focus right after this break. Don't go anywhere. But before we actually take the break, I would like to read out one of our public service announcement, and then we will take that advert break. Give us a minute to put that together. All right. We have here, upgrade your sound with Showgear's Grab Sale. Enjoy up to 10% off individual items and 43% off bundle deals. It's perfect for musicians, for churches, for studios, and event professionals. And you're able to shop these gears at www.showgearonline.com or Showgear stores in Lagos and Abuja. Showgear is spelled SHOWGEAR. That's Showgear stores. For professional audio-visual and lighting equipment, you can definitely reach out to them on www.showgearonline.com. We'll take the rest of the commercials and be back for Mainland Focus. Stay with us.